What's up, guys? Decided to just jump in and do a quick live stream to cover another cardio myth. Now, I know how everybody loves the debunking of the cardio myths here, but there's a lot of myths. There's a lot of myths in the fitness industry. There's a lot of myths when it comes to cardio, and I think someone needs to talk about it. Someone needs to debunk it. And a common one I get all the time is the zone 2 thing. So last time we went over zone 2 cardio. And I decided earlier today to just kind of try to find some stuff to read about it, try to make some sense out of it. But the thing is, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. Out of the couple of articles I read, they didn't refer to any particular studies showing more fat loss. And if there are studies that are comparing fat loss with zone 2 cardio or some other type of cardio, they're probably not. They're probably both calorie restricted diets anyway, and the calorie restricted diet was doing it. But what I did find was in some articles, here's the truth. Here's the truth about zone 2 cardio. It's believed to be this sweet spot for fat loss. Based on what? I don't know. I didn't see anybody recite any sort of literature proving this. Because I have literature that will prove the opposite of this. Okay, so, there never really seems to be any significant evidence for this stuff other than, kind of theory. And the does everything sound okay? I just want to make sure. I got a fan on because it's 90 degrees out. I've got evidence that goes against what most fitness trends endorse, what most folklore, what most things commonly accept in the fitness community. I find a way to produce a lot of evidence against it, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of evidence for it. So it's kind of easy, honestly. So when it comes to this zone 2 cardio thing, okay, the belief is if you do long duration, low intensity, steady state locomotive activity, keeping your heart rate within 60 to 70 beats per minute, that is the sweet spot for fat loss. It results in more mitochondria, which helps your cardiovascular metabolic system work better. True. But so does strength training. We went over that already. We went over the strength training literally builds capillaries, creates more mitochondria that can use byproducts of anaerobic respiration and create energy. So, the more byproducts you got built up from glycolysis and the more mitochondria you have to eat those, turn it into energy, the better your metabolism works, right? But the belief that this slow, steady state stuff does something special is absolutely ridiculous. All right, I'll try not to swear because I'm trying to help the algorithm here. But so one article I found was research shows that zone 2 cardio improved VO2 max better than high intensity interval training. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Right when I saw that, I thought, did they have one group train steady state, measure their VO2 max, and then another group train with high intensity interval training, and then test them on steady state with their VO2 max? Well, that's interesting, because of course it wouldn't show an improvement. Because the group who practiced the steady state improved their economy of movement, improved the neurological adaptations, the neuromuscular adaptations, and of course they would express and improve VO2 max with the exact activity they practiced. Meanwhile, group 2 probably practiced interval training and then was tested on steady state Of course they're not going to show an improvement in VO2 max because it's activity specific, remember? Remember the study from 1975 and the one from 1976 that found that VO2 max did not transfer between activities? If you took a swimmer and they improved their VO2 max, but then you had them jog, they showed no improvement. So that's what they provide as evidence for this zone 2 stuff. It's not evidence, but they showed it VO2 max. Now, I haven't seen anything when it comes to fat loss, because no exercises between one or another. Different modes of exercise are not going to result in different or significantly different levels of fat loss, because exercise doesn't burn fat. But a lot of people think exercise burns fat, because indoctrination is quite powerful. That's why you think that. Now, I haven't really seen much evidence that exercise alone burns fat. Exercise with diet, sure, burns tons of fat, mobilizes. I haven't seen any evidence that exercise alone burns a significant amount of fat. But I have seen evidence that exercise alone does not burn a significant amount of fat. So you guys probably heard me talk about Dr. Ermin Poncer a couple times, right? Man, I wish I could get this bigger. By the way, how do you like my new YouTube studio? It's kind of cool, right? I watched a YouTube video and figured out how to do this. So I have some evidence by Dr. Ermin Poncer. So Dr. Ermin Poncer is an anthropologist. He studies, anthropologist or paleontologist? Anthropologist. He studies history of humans, so to speak. And what he found was, so the belief is, this is the belief, the more activity I do, the more calories my body burns, right? That's what we were taught. It makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Dr. Ermin Poncer found that that's not necessarily true, that there is not a linear relationship between the amount of activity I do and the amount of calories my body burns. All right, you want to see? Where are we here? So, study was done in 2016. Okay. Let's see. Dr. Ermin Poncer. Okay. Constrained total energy expenditure and metabolic adaptation to physical activity in adult humans. So let's look at the summary. Current obesity prevention strategies recommend increasing daily physical activity. Of course they do. But they always do. That's the general recommendation. Oh, you're fat. You got to lose fat. Start moving more. Okay. Well, Dr. Ermin Poncer found that doesn't work. And many people have probably attempted that. Found that didn't work. Want to know how I know? You guys have been going to the same gym for a while. You probably see the same people for a while, and most of them look exactly the same. This doesn't work. Okay. Activity will lead to corresponding increases in total energy expenditure and prevent the reverse energy imbalance and weight gain. That is the belief. Such additive total energy expenditure models are supported by exercise intervention and accelerometry studies reporting positive correlations between physical activity and total energy expenditure, but challenged by ecological studies in humans and other species showing that more active populations do not have higher total energy expenditure. Understand? Here we test a constrained total energy expenditure model, which total energy expenditure increases with physical activity at low activity levels, but plateaus at higher activity levels as the body adapts to maintain total energy expenditure with a narrow range. So they found the body adapts. Okay. Results. So this is what most people think. As we increase physical activity, the total energy expenditure goes up. But what he actually found was that when you increase your physical activity, your resting metabolic rate will reduce. He found there are probably biochemical components or metabolic components going on that cause this to happen. Erman Poncer concluded that possibly you sit more rather than stand more. Maybe you're a little lazier throughout the day. Maybe you fidget less. So your body does a lot of things to actually reduce its resting metabolic rate to make up for what you expend. Okay, I recommend you guys read this study here. And he found that very active population. So the belief is obviously, Western culture is fat because we sit down too much. I mean, part of that is true, but it's not because of the energy expenditure. I would believe it's probably mostly due to muscular atrophy. I mean, sitting down too much will atrophy your muscles if you don't strength train. So that's the belief. We're fat because we don't move enough. So get out there and move. Get out there and walk. Yeah, I mean, I live in this neighborhood and I see people walking all the time for exercise. And I think, Jesus, you're wasting your time. But what the truth is, you don't necessarily burn any additional or extra calories with this additional activity. Your metabolic rate will actually adjust and lower to make up for it. And I think this is why people have such a hard time losing fat, because they're going to the gym, they're going on the treadmill or the elliptical, and they're moving, and they think that they're burning extra calories. But they're not. And here's even the craziest part too. A lot of people try to go to the gym to make up for their bad diet. So they eat like crap and they go to the gym and they think they burn 500 additional calories. First of all, the machines aren't necessarily correct. And if your metabolism is slowing down to make up for what you expend physically, then you're probably in a calorie surplus, continuing to gain fat. So here's a cool part of it. Rather than increasing total energy expenditure linearly in response to physical activity, individuals tend to adapt metabolically to increase physical activity, muting the expected increase in daily energy throughput. That's an interesting word. I didn't even know it was real. These metabolic changes can be behavioral, such as sitting instead of standing, fidgeting less, like I said. But they also might include reductions in other non-muscular metabolic activity. For example, men and women enrolled in a long-term exercise study exhibited reduced basal metabolic rates at week 40. And studies in healthy adult women have shown suppressed ovarian activity and lower estrogen production in response to moderate exercise. So, the cardio myth is doing steady state or doing zone 2 is the best for fat loss. First of all, your body doesn't burn fat much at all during physical activity unless your glycogen is ridiculously depleted. If you have glucose and stored glycogen in your muscle, your body will be using glucose and glycogen for muscle contractions. Think about it. We store glucose in our muscles in the form of glycogen so that way it can be accessed by our muscle cells almost instantly for energy. We have things like epinephrine and adrenaline to cleave more glucose out of our muscle cells to give us more energy. That's why you have so much energy when you have an adrenaline dump. It's because the epinephrine pulls more glucose out and metabolizes it. If our body remember, fat is like the survival energy source, meaning we have to be very depleted until we start using fat. And most people are not in a calorie restriction. They're eating like shit, and then they're going in, they're walking around in circles thinking that their body's metabolizing fat when your glycogen stores are chock full. Absolutely not. So, first of all, you have to be in a negative energy balance to even consider using fat. Okay, most people are not. Second of all, according to the literature here, I mean, your body, even so, it's not expending enough energy to even create a negative energy balance. So the belief that zone 2 somehow was this sweet spot for burning fat is just stupid. It's silly. If you want a program that will actually drastically improve your body composition and for good, because here's the thing. You need to build muscle tissue. You need to build lean muscle tissue. That's going to result in a higher metabolic efficiency, more insulin sensitivity, improved cardiovascular efficiency. Stronger muscles are going to result in everything being easier in your life. That is going to result in long-term improvements in body composition. Okay, you need to build muscle, of course. You need to combine that with a calorie restriction. The purpose of exercise is not to burn fat, because your body fucking doesn't burn fat during exercise. I don't know where this came from. Outdated, ridiculous. The purpose of exercise is to build lean tissue, or preserve it at least, while your fat is lost through a calorie restriction. Okay? The best way to do this is with a protocol high in intensity. That's what Golden Era system is. It shows you how to recruit the most amount of muscle tissue in each exercise in each set. Therefore, produce the best stimulus and the best response. You know? So, while other methods will work because they do place a demand on the muscle, if they do not place a huge, heavy, high demand on the muscle, they just don't work as well. So Golden Era System shows you how to do that. If you're new to these live streams, check it out. Because you need to build muscle tissue in order to improve your body composition and keep it improved long term. There's no way around it. Okay, let's see. I got the screen kind of far away. So that's it. Zone 2 cardio, nonsense. Again, if you like cardio, if you want to go for a walk, if you want to go for a jog, fine. Don't do it for the sake of trying to burn fat. It won't work. And if you are combining a calorie-restricted diet, a good diet, with the Zone 2 cardio, it's not the cardio mobilizing the fat. It's the diet. The additional cardio is wasting your time. Okay? So sometimes you'll have some people who go on a diet and then they do cardio and then they pat themselves on the back. Oh, it was the cardio. It was the 2 miles a day that I jogged that made me lose fat. No, it wasn't. It was the diet. Okay? It was the diet. So if you're already dieting, just don't waste your time. You're going to destroy your knees. You're going to waste a lot of time. You know, time can be better spent doing plenty of other things. So after that, now I'm going to do some Q&A. All right, let's see. Nate asks, is 45-degree trunk extension on 45-degree station a suitable replacement for deadlift and leg curl? Not a replacement. I mean, yeah, it'll... No, not a replacement. Does it effectively work hamstrings or glutes along the lower back? It's not nearly as effective as at working your hamstrings and glutes as a deadlift or a leg curl. Leg curl doesn't work your glutes; it works only your hamstrings. But not a replacement, dude. No way, no way. Why not just do a leg curl or a deadlift? I mean, if you have this piece of equipment, chances are you've got the other equipment to do the other one. So what, guys? This is what I did today. I did So I'm filming each day of Mike Mentor's heavy duty workout. So I'm doing day 1, day 2, day 3, whatever. I'm just following it, filming it start to finish, no cuts, no editing, no breaks. So today I did day 1. It was the chest fly to failure, superset with an incline press drop set. Nautilus pullover, superset with a pull down. And the last exercise was a deadlift. And I did the deadlift with a trap bar. Deadlift is killer. I mean, preferably, I don't think you need a deadlift. I think it is a good exercise. You can opt for a squat or substitute with a squat. But since I don't do the deadlift often, boy, is it tough. So I filmed that all today, did Mike Mentor's workout. It was okay. Mine was better. My system is just, it's so much more logical. It's just an improved version. It's improved. If you did Mike Mentor's workout, you would get results, yes, but you would get better results with mine. Mine's just better. Like I went through his workout and I was like, yeah, that was tough. It wasn't the best workout I ever had. It was missing some things. It just felt like it was missing things. But I'm gonna go through and do Mike Mentor's workout anyway. What's the best exercise if the goal to lower heart rate? Hold on, something's stuck in my foot. All right, there is no best. Okay, you want to know what the best exercise is to lower your resting heart rate? Strength training. Okay, a lower resting heart rate is the improvement of the physical adaptations associated with cardiovascular fitness. Okay, this improves more muscle, more capillaries, better stroke volume, higher metabolic efficiency, more mitochondria. So your heart rate, when your heart rate lowers, it is a result of things that adapt outside of your heart. All right, a lot of people are under the impression the heart physiology changing. Well, it does to some extent. The amount the heart improves as an organ itself is ridiculously exaggerated. Most of what's happening is what they refer to as on the periphery, in your muscle cells, away from your heart. The adaptations that are happening away from your heart, including, again, more capillaries, better stroke volume, more mitochondria, more metabolic enzymes, all of these things improve. And since they're running more efficiently, your heart doesn't have to beat as much or work as hard to supply your body with what it needs. So your heart rate goes down, your resting heart rate goes down. So everybody in my coaching program, by the way, if you want to join my coaching and work with me one-on-one directly and let me transform your physique with the best fucking workout you ever had, I will teach you how to diet, I will teach you how to train, I'll teach you everything one-on-one. There's a link in the bio for that. But if you want to improve your heart rate, you simply have to train your muscles, and you have to train them hard. The harder you train your muscles, the more these peripheral adaptations occur. The more peripheral adaptations occur as a result of more intense training. Everybody in my coaching has a resting heart rate in the 40s, which is considered Olympic athlete level, whatever the fuck that means. But you do not need to do any form of traditional cardio to improve your heart rate. You simply need to work your muscles hard. The harder you work your muscles, the harder demand you place on your cardiovascular system, the more stress, the more adaptation. The more you ramp up something called the AMPK pathway. The AMPK pathway, they have shown when that AMPK pathway is elevated, these physiological adaptations occur. What they found was the AMPK pathway is elevated to the same, and in many cases better, extent with strength training than traditional cardio, okay? Which is going to result in lower heart rate over time. So you simply have to train your muscles hard. You can get the exact same effect with strength training. You do not need to do sprints. You do not need to do jogging, whatever, for a lower resting heart rate. You simply need to train your muscles hard. And the safest, most efficient, most effective way to train your muscles hard is with properly performed strength training like the Golden Era system, okay? Every one of my coaching has resting heart rates in the 40s, okay? Even some of the people who are relatively overweight, they still have not a lot, but they have fat to lose. Resting heart rates in the 40s. Not a single second of cardio. Nothing. Only strength training twice a week. All right, let's see. Did your Golden Era system demonstrate how to do dumbbell bench press? Yes, it does. Nate, you've been coming to all my live streams. You haven't gotten the Golden Era system yet? Damn. Let's see. Everything in my program is progressing really well except for the dumbbell curls, which has slightly decreased in time under load. Well, here's the thing. You probably don't need the dumbbell curls, and they're probably overtraining you. Exercises like triceps extension, dumbbell curls, lateral raise, and overhead press, from my experience, and I've recorded, supervised, and trained over 25,000 sessions, they progress the slowest. That's just all they do. If your time under load is going down over time, chances are you're overtraining. Because remember, anytime we load elbow flexion, the elbow flex, we perform elbow flexion in pulling movements, okay? Just like we do in curl movements. You're training your biceps. So if you're doing a pull down in a row, if you're doing those exercises, you are training and recruiting a hell of a lot of muscle in your biceps because you're loading elbow flexion. The additional biceps curl may be going down because you're overtraining. You've already trashed your biceps in 2 movements. The only reasons traditional bodybuilders and other fit bros think you need biceps curls is because they do the pulling movements like shit. They don't do them hard. They think they do them hard. They're not even close. If you do those movements with a high level of intensity, you shouldn't even have the strength left to do biceps curls. I tell people throw them in if you want until you start to overtrain like you are. Okay? Then you're probably just going to want to remove them. Kevin Samuel's background. Yeah. You know, I've been wanting to just kind of improve, and like change the colors and shit. Look. That's like an Italian, like, wedding song. Because it's green and red and white. But anyway. Yeah, I figured out how to do this on a YouTube video, and I think it looks pretty cool. I ordered all this shit on Amazon. I actually got some pretty nice, relatively expensive lights. The lighting's everything. I mean, I suck with technology, and I figured this out somehow. Happy about it. Let's see. If you don't feel the muscle during training, usually low reps and normal cadence, does it affect the amount of muscle you're building? Well, if you're not feeling the target muscle group, chances are your form is off. A lot of the times when people use really heavy load, they tend to allow their form to break down. And now you're just focused on making the weight move instead of contracting the target muscle against resistance, and you're going to feel the muscle less. So your weight is probably too high and you're sacrificing form. So I would just lower the weight a little bit, just a little bit. Focus, remember, think about this. Think about what you're, and this is what Ken Hutchins said. And if you haven't read any of Ken Hutchins' books, go to www.baye.com, B-A-Y-E.com. Go to Drew Baye's website, order Ken Hutchins' books. Brilliant guy. And this is what he says. He says, think about what you're doing to your muscles with the machine or with the weight, not what you're doing to the weight with your muscles. For instance, when I do a chest press exercise, I'm not moving the chest press machine. I'm using the chest press machine to create resistance for my chest to work against. If you go into the workout thinking about it that way, it's going to really help you. Really help you. All right. I'm slow twitch dominant. Should I incorporate more sets in my training to fatigue more of my slow twitch muscle fibers? That's not how your body recruits muscle. Ryan Hall is a exercise physiologist in New Orleans, and he found that people who are predominantly slow twitch, born with mostly slow twitch muscle fibers, he has found that they respond a little better to a little more time under load. This could mean, an additional set or two. In my own studios, I tried, people who were slower twitch, longer set durations. I didn't really see much of a difference, but you could try that. But more sets doesn't mean more slow twitch muscle fiber fatigue. What it means is more slow twitch muscle fiber damage, but that muscular damage doesn't translate into more growth because the slow twitch motor units do not grow much. They are slow to fatigue, fast to recover, and slow twitch motor units are innervated by a smaller nerve. That means there's less electricity, so to speak, going into that motor unit. So slow twitch motor units produce a lower contractile force than do fast twitch motor units. That's kind of where it comes from. Fast twitch motor units are innervated by a bigger nerve. They can produce more contractile force, therefore more strength, more power, more whatever. Slow twitch motor units are not innervated by as big of a nerve, and they do not produce as much contractile force. That doesn't mean doing more sets is going to somehow stimulate them any different. It doesn't. And they also don't grow much. All right. How do you know when you've hit your genetic potential versus not training optimally? Most people have not hit their genetic potential and they're just not training optimally. That's why I tell you to join my coaching. Most people, a lot of people, not most, but a lot of people who join my coaching program have actually been doing high intensity training for some time and think they hit their genetic potential, but within a couple of months, I unlock way more out of their physique by teaching them how to train optimally. Chances are, if you're on your own without coaching of somebody who's knowledgeable, you're not reaching your optimal potential. You'll get results, but you're not reaching your genetic potential unless you have an expert guide you through. That's why I do the coaching thing. Somebody put a Bible verse in here? Why? Okay. How can we know we don't know what to go? Blah, blah, blah. Faster, stronger, higher. Okay. I want to be faster and stronger, of course, but unfortunately my genetics sucks, become slow twitch dominant. Yeah, I mean, you know, you're born with what you're born with. Like, so here's the thing: how do you know you're slow twitch dominant? Tell me that. Answer in the chat. Tell me why you think you're slow twitch dominant. Maybe we could explore this a little. Okay, how long do you think a football athlete should stop training before going into fall camp? I'd give yourself at least an absolute minimum 1 week, probably 2. You know, if I were playing football, I would stop training 1 week before. But again, it depends. Of course, it depends. Like, how do you feel? Are you feeling beat? Do you have any kind of aches or pains? Or, you know, honestly, you know, I have a little bit of biceps tendonitis. Like you guys will see when I do this video of Mike Mencher's workout, I stopped the deadlift a little short because my biceps tendon felt weird. So then I stripped some weight off into the drop set. I got it from golfing. So if you have something like that, if you have like, you know, an ache in your tendon, an ache in some joint, discontinue your training sooner before your camp starts. But if you feel great, at least take a week off before you start. Yeah, so exercise thoughts and discussions, slow twitch dominant, I would suggest longer time under load. That's what Ryan Hall discovered. I try that with my clients. I didn't see like a ridiculous difference, but you know, time is everything. Do you think I should do more sets too? No, I don't. What's 15? Blah, 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 blah. Thoughts on stationary bike? It's dumb. It's dumb. A stationary bike will not build progressive strength. A stationary bike, especially if it's one where you're bent over, I would bet that's going to cause lower back pain over time because you're in constant spinal flexion and you're placing a load on your lower back. A stationary bike is better than like a treadmill or jogging because there's less impact forces, which will be better on your joints. But a stationary bike is a slow, long, inefficient, relatively ineffective way to have a very minimal exercise benefit. That's what I think of stationary bike. All right, Jay, what fly machine or with dumbbells? I use the Nautilus 10 degree pec fly. All right, I've heard you, maybe it was you say before VO2 max is a bad metric. Can you go over VO2 max if you know about it? Yeah, I went over this in the live stream actually. Check out the last live stream. I don't want to go over it again, so I could, I don't want to do 2 live streams that are almost identical in information. But I went over VO2 max pretty involved in the last live stream and brought up some research showing that VO2 max improves basically based on the activity. They took a group of people, they had swimmers swim and then find their VO2 max from swimming. So they trained swimming, they saw VO2 max improvement after however many weeks of swimming, but then they went and tested their VO2 max on running, even after training in the pool for several weeks, and found that their VO2 max only improved with swimming and didn't improve when they went and tested it with running, showing that it's a lot of it's activity specific. So, all right, look at people who ride actual bikes with legs crazy toned. Someone told me to do this for rehab to build muscle. Wrong. All right, we need to understand something called selection bias. A lot of people, because your brain is built to recognize patterns, it's not built for logic, and a lot of people have not heard of the selection bias phenomenon. A lot of what happens, especially when you get to higher levels of competition in sports, particular body types perform well with particular activities. Very tall people have an advantage playing basketball, so very tall people tend to gravitate towards basketball, and short people don't do as well and they fall out. Same with like jockeys. You're not going to have a 250-pound man racing horses. You're going to have a 5'2", 110-pound man racing horses. Certain body types have certain physical advantages for certain activities. Certain body types do well with cycling. And when you get to high levels of competition, like he said, look at people who ride actual bikes. Their legs are crazy toned. Because it's people with certain physiologies, certain genetic predispositions that do well in biking. So when you get to really high levels of competition, which I'm sure you're thinking of, like the best cyclists in the world, you're going to see all these guys with like shredded, jacked legs. Because individuals with those genetic predispositions all rise to the top, and the people without those genetic predispositions don't do as well, and they don't rise to the top. This is called selection bias. It's something that a lot of people have never been taught. All right, can I do 2 boxing workouts consecutive days, a day later, hit workout once a week? I don't know. I'd have to see what else you're doing. I'd have to see how you feel as a result of these. I can't answer these kinds of questions without knowing more, unfortunately. All right, how many sets should an upper day be? Is 8 or 9 too much? Also, is a 5-set leg day too much? A 5-set leg day is probably pushing it. Well, again, it depends on a couple of things. How's your recovery? And how hard you're training. All right? If you're training extremely hard and you don't recover quickly, like me, I don't recover quickly at all, it may be too much. Now, if you're an individual who recovers relatively quickly and in combination you're not training really as hard as you could be, that's probably not too much. So, it varies. It varies between individuals. That's why in the Golden Era system, I teach you how to dial your training in. If you are starting to feel run down, weaker, beat up, well, 8 or 9 might be too much. If you're cruising through it and you feel fine, then you're good. Let's see. All right. Wouldn't a 45-degree trunk extension be a lower risk exercise than a deadlift? It can't be compared to the deadlift because it's not a lower body pushing movement. It's a hinging movement. Sure, it works the glutes and the hamstrings, but really what it's doing, it's creating a moment arm on the muscles of the lower back. A 45-degree trunk extension is a lower back exercise. It's a poor glute and hamstring exercise. They should not even be compared with a deadlift. Let's see. How long have we been going? I don't want to keep these too long because, believe it or not, watch time is important on YouTube. A couple more. All right, this question I get all the time. Jonathan Urbano. How can I do HIIT training and also get into MMA? And how far apart would you do the MMA and HIIT workout sessions? Again, it's going to depend on your individual ability to recover. All I would recommend first to start is just don't do them on the same day. Okay? Do them on different days at least. Ideally, I would do at least one day in between strength training and MMA. Or just do strength training after MMA. Allow one day at least in between. A couple more. What do you think of isometric dumbbell chest fly, a very slight movement? Well, according to most of the literature I read, range of motion doesn't really make a huge difference or any difference at all on muscle growth. It may make a difference on muscular strength and your ability to demonstrate that strength, because the demonstration of strength is a combination of strength and skill. So, for instance, if I didn't do much range of motion at all, I may not be able to demonstrate that strength as well through the range of motion because I don't have that practice or skill component. But in terms of muscle growth, if isometric or static contraction is done properly, I would imagine it's relatively almost identical in muscle growth compared to range of motion. So you can do very slight movements with chest fly. Well, if you're doing a dumbbell chest fly, the problem is, you're getting all of the load in a position where your shoulder and your chest is in passive insufficiency. It's stretched. So you're very weak down here. So what's going to happen a lot of the time, the deeper muscles may contract in order to make up for this. The muscles of the rotator cuff to stabilize your shoulder because it's in such a weak position and it's about to pop out. That's where you get shoulder problems. So I would just avoid doing a dumbbell chest fly anyway. All right. What is it going? Can't see shit. All right, what's the highest day gap between workouts to still build muscle? About 3 weeks? I don't know. I mean, Drew Bay seems to think he's under the impression it might take several months to start losing muscle. But nobody's done a good, study on this. The only study I can recall is one that was cited in James Fisher, James Steele, and Dave Smith's study. And they suggested that you can take layoffs as long as 3 weeks and not lose muscle. That's what they suggested in their paper. I did read the study. I don't really remember the details of it, but I'm really not sure. I've gained 10 pounds in 3 months. Is that a good rate of weight gain? Fuck yeah, it is. Jesus. Well, here goes the algorithm. I can't help it swearing. But swear, whatever. Start with Renaissance of Exercise 1 and 2, Ken Hutch's books. Absolutely. You can tell us, guys, if you ask a question, can you not just spam it, please? It just looks bad if you ask it a million times. All right, can you gain muscle in a deficit? Absolutely. There's a study done by Al Goldberg. In 1975, he was studying the mechanisms of muscle growth in the soleus and gastrocnemius muscle in rats and found that these rats would gain muscle even if they were severely deprived of nutrition if the stimulus was adequate. We've known this, that you can grow muscle in a calorie deficit since 1975, and there are still morons who think that you can't. Morons. I got genetically tested and I can confirm that I'm slow twitch dominant. Okay. Years before this test, I kept finding it impossible to gain strength, Found it very easy to get endless endurance. See? Isn't that cool? All right. It's hard for me to progressive overload because I don't have a good physique. I know I'm not supposed to look like a bodybuilder, but I don't even look average. Okay, well, chances are you're in the middle. I mean, just because you don't have a good physique doesn't mean you're all slow twitch. You probably just haven't been training very long. Remember, guys, this is like you don't build your physique overnight. I started lifting weights for football when I was 16. I was skinny as shit. When I started lifting weights, I was 150 pounds. When I graduated high school, I was 189. Jacked. People on my, I competed in track, and they thought I was juicing at 17 years old. Back in, when I was in high school, you couldn't just, pick up the sauce, anywhere. It was hard. Nowadays, it's everywhere. Well, back then, it was, I wouldn't even know where to start. But anyway, my point is, I started when I was 16. By the time I was 18, I was able to put on about 30 pounds. Then I kind of stayed there for several years until I started doing high-intensity training. I was doing the basic stuff. But you can't expect to just start training and transform your physique within just a few weeks or a couple months. All right? Remember, I've been training for years and years and years. If you're training properly, about 2 years, you'll reach your genetic potential. But if you've only been training for a couple months and you say you have a bad physique, well, dude, chances are you're not training correctly. I mean, have you tried the Golden Era system? Have you tried high-intensity training? Chances are you haven't, because if you had done it, you would see results. What do you think about the 10K steps a day, stay active? Absolutely the most ridiculous thing. The 10K steps a day is a lie to sell you Fitbits. Unbelievable. So if Dr. Erwin Ponzer found that additional activity doesn't result in additional energy expenditure, well, then 10K steps a day for your weight is nonsense. The only thing it would do is keep you away from the fridge. Walking is not physically demanding enough or stressful enough on your muscular strength, your metabolic system, or your cardiovascular system to stimulate a significant physiological adaptation. Walking is not hard enough. 10K steps a day is ridiculous. Okay, if you're 500 pounds or 300 pounds and you start walking, yes, something will happen. But if you're a 165 pound woman, walking's not going to do anything. Ask people. You must know people who walk for exercise. Ask them. I'm telling you, ask them. You walk for exercise, right? Yes. Have you lost any weight? This is what their response is going to be. Well, I still, that ice cream at night is what gets me. They're going to make an excuse that their diet is bad. I could lose, but my diet, So they know that the walking is helping them lose weight. That's what they'll say. All right. Any advice on starting careers at HIIT trainer certifications? Yeah, I would join my coaching and let me teach you everything you need to know about high-intensity training, exercise physiology, nutrition, etc. I also help my students build their businesses as HIIT trainers. I've got some experience in that. Okay. Let's see. Joy Pass. Right? Yeah. Lost 13 pounds and yet got stronger every session, 2 to 3 workouts a week, average 10 to 30 minutes a session. Yeah, man, I'm telling you. I did Mike Mentzer's workout today, just heavy duty, chest, and it took 12 minutes and 30 seconds, and with switching the weight. Is 40 seconds of time under tension enough? Sure is. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me. I don't want to make it too long so, the watch time goes down and the algorithm suffers. So that's it for me. Guys, hit the like, subscribe, bell notification icon, and go to goldenerasystem.com, try the program. you know what, I'll throw in the advanced arm training set workout again today. Okay, if you haven't got Golden Era system, I'll throw in my other arm training system, the advanced arm training, for free. And remember, guys, if you don't get it right away, it's because I have to manually go in and send it to everybody. So if you don't get the arm system right away and you get Golden Era system, don't think that the whole thing cheated you. I have to go through and send it to you, and I generally do it at the end of the day, first thing in the morning. All right, so go ahead, check it out. If you want to work with me personally, if you're a trainer and you want to learn this, if your results suck in the gym and you want to actually see some significant change, there's another link in the description. Join my coaching. I'm telling you, join the coaching. You won't believe how much you learn. You won't believe how much you can actually change when you do this correctly. All right? Hit the bell notification icon if you're a subscriber. If you're not, hit the like, subscribe. Come on. And hit the bell notification icon because I'm going to be doing a lot more live streams. I got everything set up nice, so you want to be notified when I do it. All right, guys, stay tuned. Next live stream is coming up this week, and we'll cover more optimally effective ways to improve your physique, improve your health and fitness, and how to do so